Welcome to my ranking of all the prom night films. I've just got done reviewing these films individually. You'll find those reviews in my prom night playlist. I didn't set out to do a full prom night review series, it has to be said. I did the original way back in November, I think, and then there was a significant chunk of time between when I did one and when I did number two, and then after that things just kind of snowballed, and here we are today. So this is the final prom night video from me. It wasn't a difficult rankings to do, I don't think. I ummed and ahed over one or two films in the middle of the list, but by and large it pretty much wrote itself. So let's get into it and find out what is my fifth and therefore least favourite prom night film. This is not just the worst prom night film, it's also one of the worst horror films I've ever seen. It's definitely the worst film I've ever reviewed on this channel, and that is saying something because I've reviewed 138 films to date. There's nothing to like about this. It is so boring. It's got this really awful police subplot. The killer is badly designed. All of the characters just feel the same. There's no gore. All the kills just cut away when they happen. It's absolutely terrible. Please never watch it. So already we're into the ones that have some worth. I gave Prom Night 3 either 2 or 2.5 out of 5. I can't remember. This is a horror comedy. I'm not normally into such films, but this particular one I really did enjoy. I laughed a few times, and what makes that even more impressive is the fact that I had to watch this on my phone on a tiny little screen because you can't buy this film in the UK. You can't rent this film in the UK. The only way I could watch it was on YouTube. But I couldn't put the YouTube on my TV because it was too blurry on there. I literally had to shrink the screen down. I almost didn't bother. I almost wrapped up this series after 2 films, but I'm glad that I put myself through the ordeal of watching a film on this tiny, tiny screen because Prom Night 3 was quite entertaining. The killer in this is a young woman. She's really funny. She sort of has all these elaborate setups that she does whenever she's doing a kill, and then she'll come up with like a one-liner. It reminds me a little bit of Chucky in a way, and they found a really good actress to play the killer here. Mary Lou, her name is. There's a lot of humour throughout the film, which feels like The Simpsons almost. It's good. It's not something that I would normally watch, but I would definitely like to give this another try one day in a properly remastered format on a large TV. This is a more serious slasher film in the same vein as the remake, but this one actually has some creativity, a good atmosphere. I think I did say in my review for Prom Night 4 that the killer was quite mediocre, but compared to the remake, the killer here might as well be Michael Myers. And the characters, although they're not particularly in-depth, they are enjoyable. I did have a good time watching them getting slaughtered. The film does cheat a little bit because it's probably the least prom nighty of the entire series. I mean, it takes place on a prom night, but it also takes place at a house which is way away from any prom night celebrations. It's kind of weird. There wasn't much difference in quality between this and Prom Night 3. I could have easily reversed the positions with these two and it wouldn't have really bothered me. So here we have Prom Night 2 at number 2. This is a radical departure from the original film, and I guess this is the point of the franchise which will test whether you're personally willing to accept such a wildly different film each time with these. Mary Lou is the killer, as she would go on to be in the third film, and I do prefer the version of Mary Lou who is in number 3, but this film is more of a serious horror film, which is why I've probably got it higher than number 3 in the list. There's some stuff in this which is sort of similar to Nightmare on Elm Street in that the main protagonist gets taken to this alternate reality for a few seconds here and there. There's some good creative stuff. There's one kill in particular which is amazing that takes place in a locker room, and the final act has some really wild surprises which I won't spoil. It's a really fun movie. It's just a shame I had to watch this really old, grainy version. Similar to some of the others in this series, I would love to watch a properly remastered version of this, but it's a good sequel. It's just very, very different from the first one. Yep, sorry to be predictable, but the original film is top of my pile when it comes to this franchise. It's also the only one that I own on Blu-ray currently. I've heard some people say that it's a bit of an overrated slasher film, and I will admit that I may have overrated it slightly myself when I reviewed it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5, but now I've had 6 months to digest the film. I might just drop it down half a point to 4 out of 5, but I still think it's excellent. It's such a well-made film. It's got a great chase in the second half. It's got a well-disguised killer. Jamie Lee's really good, but she's not carrying the film by herself. There's some really good actors and actresses in this, some good characters. It works just as well as a school drama as it does a horror film. It's got a great soundtrack as well. I just think it's really good, and there was never any doubt in my mind that this was going to be number one today. So that brings us to the end of my prom night rankings. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with any of my placements here. And I would love to say that maybe I'll be back in the future with another prom night review video, but in all honesty, this series is probably dead. 2008 prom night probably killed it for good, but never mind. Right, I'll be back with another video very soon. Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.